MegaPodTastic.
Good morning, MegaPodlings. It's Krazy Joe back at Water Tower Cinema. But guess what? We're watching new movies today. New movies, not classic movies, not re-releases of things we've seen a million times. Brand spanking new movies that we've never seen before. I'm taking in two of them in a row, starting with The New Mutants and followed by Bill and Ted Face the Music. I'm very excited. I've been dying to see both of these movies, and I've been dying to see both of these movies for a long time because I've been waiting for a third Bill and Ted movie for 30 years, and I've been waiting for The New Mutants for about 3 years since it's been sitting on the shelf as a victim of the Disney-Fox merger. But we're about to see it. I'm not wearing my mask yet, but I have my mask here. I'm going to be wearing my Mayor Larry Vaughn anchor mask from Jaws. It was sent to me by my longtime friend and Patreon supporter, Martin Collins, and it was made by his mother-in-law. So thank you to Martin. And I'm going to put that on right now. Let me see. Can I put this on with one hand? Let me see. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to pull it down. There we go. It's a perfect fit. Perfect fit. Let's go into Water Tower Cinema and see The New Mutants and see Bill and Ted Face the Music. Here we go. Brand new movies for the first time since March. I'm excited. And these are two of my most anticipated movies of the year too. Though the movie I'm most excited for is still Wonder Woman. So we have to wait until October for that one. I'd also like to point out that this theater is the only place you'll be able to see Bill and Ted Face the Music in the Philadelphia region if you want to see it in the movies. Okay, we are in Theater 7. There it is, The New Mutants. I'm early. Nobody's here yet. And so far, the theater is empty, but I do know at least one person is coming because one of my regular viewers is also coming to this screening. And we're back at my house. I saw two movies today. I will do the Bill and Ted review separate. But the first movie of the day was New Mutants. Now, this movie is a movie that has been highly anticipated because it sat on the shelf for about 3 years. It was made before the Disney takeover of Fox. And then when Disney took over, I guess they didn't know what to do with it. And it just sat and sat in this poor film. It's had like multiple release dates that have changed time and time again. And I think a lot of people had already written the movie off. Like, well, this is going to be a bad movie. There was a perception, I think, that the movie must be bad. Or it would have been released by now. It must be bad. And that was unfortunate because we really had no idea if the movie was good or bad. It was a victim of the circumstance of Disney's takeover of Fox. It was a movie that kind of got caught in the middle. And I was really anxious to see it because I thought it was a film that held power. And what I mean by a film that held power, now that the X-Men characters, the mutant characters, are back under the control of Disney, Marvel, Kevin Feige, there's been a question of what is Kevin Feige going to do with them? Obviously, Fox has had a very successful string of X-Men movies that have lasted 20 years, starting with the 2000 X-Men, going straight up to this one. And Kevin Feige has options. He could completely write off those movies made by Fox. They didn't happen. Reboot them. Start from scratch. Or he could find a way to integrate them into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And New Mutants, I felt, was a film that had power. Because if it opened under the best of circumstances, which it did not, but if it opened under the best of circumstances and the movie theaters had not been shut down and there had not been a pandemic, its success could have dictated where Marvel and Disney went with those characters. If it was a smashing success, Disney might have been like, well, we want a sequel to this. It's a huge hit. And therefore, Kevin Feige, you need to integrate this into the MCU because we're not rebooting this. It's too big of a hit. Or it could have failed spectacularly. I think the film is going to fall somewhere in the middle. First of all, it could never be $1 billion film under the circumstances. It was, no matter how good it was never going to be $1 billion film under these circumstances. With the pandemic, and like a theater in Pennsylvania can only admit 25 people per auditorium by state laws. So you're never going to get $1 million movie that way, or $1 billion movie, I mean. So that's kind of out the window no matter what. But the question becomes, what was the story? Was the movie good? Was the movie not good? And I really wanted it to be great. It is not great. It's not bad. There's certainly worse. There's certainly worse in this X-Men franchise. I mean, it's a better film than 2009's Wolverine. The 2009 Wolverine movie that actually introduced Deadpool is still the biggest train wreck in the entire franchise. This movie is just average. What is the problem? Number one, it's kind of boring. It's kind of boring. It picks up towards the end. Towards the end, it definitely picks up, but the beginning is very slow, very methodical. Not that that's always a bad thing. In fact, that's very often not a bad thing. But in this case, it's kind of dull. The characters, I mean, I'd say there's two really good characters in there. Maisie Williams' character of Rain and the main character of Danny Moonstar. They're great characters. They're very likable. They got, you just like those two characters. Then you've got Anna Taylor-Joy from Split. She's in there and she's doing just about the worst Russian accent since Walter Koenig. But, there's a lot to like in this movie too. There's a lot to like in it. The X-Men dragon, most associated with Kitty Pryde, but the dragon Lockheed is in the movie, and I thought it was kind of cool how they did Lockheed. Every time Lockheed popped up, I kind of smiled. So there's stuff to like here, but mostly it's kind of a dull, uneventful, slow movie, and it's a shame. It's a shame, but. It's not bad. It's worth watching. Is it worth going out to the theater to see? Well, personally, as someone who thinks you should support your local theater if you feel comfortable, you got to do what you feel comfortable doing. But if theaters are open in your area and you feel comfortable, I say go see it. Support your local theater. The theaters are struggling right now. They could use your support. If you don't feel comfortable going to the theater, don't do anything that's outside your comfort zone. If you don't feel comfortable, it's very understandable right now. This is the kind of film that it's not going to lose something. Well, I'm a firm believer that every movie should be seen on the big screen because they were designed for the big screen. That's where they were designed to be seen. So this was a movie that was designed by the director Josh Boone to be seen on the big screen. So that is always going to be the best way to see it, but you gotta wait, you gotta wait. Again, it's average. It's average. I'd say 3 stars. It's good. I liked it, but it's not it's not a slam dunk. It's not something that's going to change your world. And it's not something that's going to change the way Kevin Feige or Disney handle the Marvel properties. One very interesting thing I will say about the movie is there's 2 scenes in the movie in which characters are watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And as many of you know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is one of my all-time favorite TV shows. It's in my top 2 favorite TV shows, alongside Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And twice in the movie, characters are watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And what happens on Buffy the Vampire Slayer actually foreshadows what happens in the movie later on. And I thought that was kind of a cool little thing as a Buffy fan. So there you go, New Mutants. It is not what I hoped it would be, but it's a good time. It's just not a great time. So hats off to Fox for their X-Men franchise, 20 years strong, and it was a great franchise. I mean, people forget how good that franchise was, but the X-Men 2, X-Men Days of Future Past, The Wolverine, which was the second Wolverine solo film, Logan, these are amongst the best superhero movies ever made. Sure, there were some misses in the franchise, like the first Wolverine movie and X-Men 3. But this franchise gave us more good than it gave us bad. The Deadpool films, for example, are among the better ones. So I tip my hat to this franchise for all it's done. And it may not be dead. It may not be dead. Kevin Feige still might be integrating the Fox X-Men franchise into the MCU. A lot of people don't think he's going to do that. A lot of people think he's going to reboot. But here's what we do know for a fact. We do know for a fact that he had a meeting with Patrick Stewart about reprising the role of Professor X. We know this because Patrick Stewart said it. It came from the mouth of Patrick Stewart himself. Now, why would Kevin Feige be meeting with Patrick Stewart to reprise the role of Professor X? He might be trying to integrate the Fox movies. We also know that his name escapes me at the moment. I can't believe his name escapes me. Quicksilver from Days of Future Past and X-Men Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. He is appearing in WandaVision. And WandaVision is going to be closely tied to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So this could indicate that his version of Quicksilver from the Fox movies is somehow going to come over into the MCU, perhaps involving the concept of the multiverse. We know these things. We know that he is in WandaVision. We know Patrick Stewart was requested by Kevin Feige. So that makes you think, well, something's going on there where Kevin Feige isn't writing off the Fox movies completely. What's he doing? No one knows but Kevin Feige. And we'll find out soon enough. But there you go. That's my review of New Mutants. Again, 3 stars. It's good. It's not great. It's a little bit of a disappointment. And it certainly wasn't worth waiting 3 years for, which is a shame. But keep wearing those pajamas.
Keep wearing those pajamas with the plastic feet. Keep wearing those pajamas. Tell everyone you meet. Keep wearing those pajamas with the back door flap. Keep wearing those pajamas. Don't open, it's a trap. Oh no, it's a trap. Some people call them PJs, some people call them jammies. They can come embroidered with big money and no whammies. They can have 100 tiny commander adamas, but no matter how they look, just keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now we're having fun. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now the song is done.